On what should have been a peaceful Monday, the sun rose gently over Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, casting a warm glow on the familiar streets and quiet neighborhoods. For many, it was a day like any other, filled with the promise of routine and the comfort of community. But beneath the calm surface, an unthinkable tragedy was about to unfold, forever altering the lives of everyone who called this place home. In the early hours, the sound of sirens shattered the morning stillness. Emergency vehicles raced toward the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, their lights flashing urgently, signaling that something terrible had happened. The church, a cornerstone of faith and fellowship for so many, was suddenly at the center of a crisis that no one could have anticipated. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, once a sanctuary for prayer, reflection, and community gatherings, became the scene of unimaginable violence. The building, which had always welcomed families and friends, now stood silent and somber, surrounded by police tape and the weight of collective shock. September 29, 2025, will forever be remembered as the day tranquility was shattered in this quiet community. The date, once just another entry on the calendar, now marks a turning point, a moment when innocence was lost and the sense of safety was replaced by grief and disbelief. The attack was not just on a building of brick and mortar, but on a sacred space where families gathered to find hope, comfort, and connection. Here, generations had come together to celebrate milestones, support one another, and nurture their faith. The violence struck at the very heart of what this church represented to its members. On that fateful morning, members arrived for a large service, dressed in their Sunday best, expecting a day of peace, reflection, and spiritual renewal. Children clutched their parents' hands, friends greeted each other with warm smiles, and no one could have imagined the horror that would soon unfold within those walls. In an instant, the sacred space was transformed into chaos. Overturned pews, scattered hymnals, and the cries of the wounded replaced the usual sounds of prayer and song. Worshippers, caught in the crossfire, were forced to fight for survival, their faith and courage tested in ways they had never imagined. The shockwaves from the attack rippled far beyond the church walls, touching every corner of the community and sending tremors across the nation. Neighbors gathered outside, embracing and comforting one another, while news crews arrived to share the heartbreaking story with the world. The tragedy sparked collective grief, difficult questions, and a search for meaning in the aftermath of senseless violence. As the details of the attack slowly emerged, the scale of the tragedy became painfully clear. The community, once defined by its unity and peace, now found itself grappling with loss, anger, and uncertainty. Across the country, people mourned alongside Grand Blanc Township, struggling to comprehend the consequences of one man's violent actions and searching for ways to heal in the face of overwhelming sorrow. The assault began with thomasjacobsanford ramming his vehicle through the church's front doors during a packed service. The crash sent panic through the congregation, instantly turning peace into terror. Sanford emerged from the wreck, armed, and began shooting indiscriminately into the crowd. The sacred halls echoed with gunfire and screams as people scrambled for cover. He then set a fire inside, trapping people and filling the air with thick, choking smoke. The combination of ramming, shooting, and arson created utter pandemonium. The church, once a symbol of hope, became a burning crime scene. For Grand Blanc Township, the sight of their church in flames was a heartbreaking symbol of violence that would leave a lasting scar. In the immediate aftermath, the true scale of the tragedy became heartbreakingly clear. The community was left reeling as reports confirmed a devastating human cost. At least 2 people had lost their lives, and 8 more were wounded, some critically. The air was thick with fear and uncertainty, as families and friends anxiously awaited news of their loved ones. The burned church stood as a haunting symbol of the chaos, with thick smoke still rising from its charred remains. Emergency personnel moved cautiously, aware that more victims could still be trapped inside the smoldering structure. The fear of discovering additional casualties weighed heavily on everyone present. Law enforcement wasted no time, racing to the scene with sirens blaring and lights flashing. Officers faced a rapidly evolving crisis, an active shooter still at large, a raging fire threatening to spread, and terrified civilians fleeing in every direction. Their training and courage were put to the ultimate test as they worked to restore order amid the chaos. In a tense and dangerous confrontation, officers engaged Sanford in a gunfight. The exchange was brief but intense, echoing through the neighborhood. Ultimately, police were able to neutralize the shooter, ending the immediate threat and preventing further violence. Their swift and decisive actions saved countless lives. As soon as the threat was contained, first responders rushed in to evacuate the wounded, carrying victims to safety and providing urgent medical care on the spot. Every second counted, and their teamwork made a critical difference. Yet the danger was far from over. The fire continued to rage, complicating rescue efforts and threatening to engulf more of the building. Firefighters battled the flames with determination, working side by side with police and paramedics to keep the situation from spiraling further out of control. The scene became a testament to the power of coordinated emergency response. Police, firefighters, and paramedics worked seamlessly together, securing the area, searching for survivors, and treating the injured with compassion and skill. Their combined efforts brought a sense of hope amid the devastation. As the immediate crisis subsided, authorities established a mobile command center. Investigators began the painstaking process of piecing together what had happened, gathering evidence, and coordinating with local officials to support the affected community. The police response marked only the beginning of a long and difficult journey for the community. Officers continued to patrol the area, offering comfort and reassurance to shaken residents, while neighbors gathered to support one another in the face of overwhelming loss. The scars left by this tragedy, both physical and emotional, would linger for years to come. But in the midst of heartbreak, the resilience and unity of the community began to shine through, offering hope for healing and recovery in the days ahead. Authorities quickly identified the attacker as 40-year-old Thomasjacobsanford of nearby Burton, Michigan. His local ties made the violence feel even more personal for residents. Investigators searched for any connection between Sanford and the church, piecing together his background and recent activities. Interviews with family and acquaintances, and a review of his history, aimed to uncover possible motives. For Grand Blanc Township, learning the attacker was a local man deepened the sense of violation. The name Thomasjacobsanford became synonymous with the town's darkest day. A key detail emerged. Sanford was a Marine veteran who served from 2004 to 2008, including a year in Iraq. His military service, especially in a combat zone, raised questions about the lasting impact of war. The experience of conflict can leave deep, invisible scars. Sanford's role as a vehicle recovery operator exposed him to high-stress, dangerous situations. The tragedy prompted a broader conversation about veterans' mental health and the challenges of returning to civilian life. While his service did not excuse his actions, it became a critical part of understanding his story. The need for robust mental health support for veterans was underscored by this tragedy. The Grand Blanc tragedy was the second mass shooting in just 24 hours, sending shockwaves through the quiet Michigan community. Residents, still reeling from the news, gathered outside the church, searching for answers and comfort in the aftermath of senseless violence. The incident left many questioning how such devastation could strike so close to home, and why it seemed to be happening with increasing frequency across the country. Authorities soon revealed that the suspected shooter was an Iraq War veteran, a man who had once served his country overseas and now stood accused of bringing tragedy to his own community. His background as a veteran added a new layer of complexity to the unfolding story, raising difficult questions about the challenges faced by those returning from war. Just hours earlier in North Carolina, another community was shattered when Marine veteran Nigel Edge opened fire at a crowded bar. The scene was chaotic, with law enforcement racing to respond and bystanders scrambling for safety as gunshots rang out into the night. The attack left 3 people dead and 8 others wounded, their families and friends forever changed by the violence. Vigils were held, and communities mourned together, struggling to process the pain and loss. Both Sanford and Edge, the accused shooters, had served in Iraq. Their military service, once a source of pride, now became a focal point for investigators and the public alike, as people tried to understand what could have led to such tragic outcomes. These incidents highlighted the profound psychological toll that war can take on those who serve. Many veterans return home carrying invisible wounds, trauma, anxiety, and depression that can be difficult to recognize and even harder to treat. The back-to-back tragedies forced a national conversation about the mental health of veterans. News outlets, advocacy groups, and policymakers began to ask tough questions about the support systems in place for those who have served, and whether enough is being done to help them transition back to civilian life. While the vast majority of veterans return home and reintegrate into their communities without incident, these rare but devastating cases serve as a reminder that the transition is not always easy. Many veterans find strength and purpose after service, reconnecting with loved ones and building new lives. Yet, for some, the scars of war remain hidden beneath the surface. Post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and other mental health challenges can make daily life a struggle, and too often, these struggles go unnoticed until it's too late. The actions of two individuals do not define the millions of veterans who serve honorably and contribute positively to society. Veterans are our neighbors, friends, and family members, and most lead lives marked by resilience and service. But these tragedies make it clear that more must be done to support those who struggle. Access to mental health care, community support, and early intervention can make a life-changing difference for veterans in need. The parallel tragedies in Michigan and North Carolina became a somber call to action, a reminder that caring for our veterans means more than just honoring their service. It means ensuring they have the resources, understanding, and support they need to heal and thrive after war. Grand Blanc Township, known for its quiet, family-friendly atmosphere, was shaken to its core. The church was more than a building. It was a community hub and a symbol of safety. The attack violated this sanctuary, leaving residents in disbelief and fear. News spread rapidly, and the town's sense of security was shattered. In the aftermath, the community's resilience began to show. Vigils and memorials appeared, and local leaders mobilized to offer support. The tragedy sparked an outpouring of compassion and unity. Grand Blanc's bonds, though tested, proved unbreakable in the face of violence. The attack left Grand Blanc grappling with loss and unanswered questions. Most of all, why? Sanford's background as a veteran offered some context but no clear explanation. Survivors and families faced lifelong trauma, both physical and psychological. The tragedy ignited national debate on veterans' mental health, gun access, and the security of public spaces. It forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about violence and our responsibility to support the vulnerable. The scars of that day will remain, fundamentally altering the community's sense of safety. The search for answers and healing continues, even as the immediate crisis fades. In the darkness, Grand Blanc's strength and unity became a beacon of hope. The path forward is paved with compassion, resilience, and a shared commitment to healing. Neighbors, leaders, and mental health professionals rallied to support those affected. Healing is not linear, but the community's response has already shown its spirit. The tragedy is a call to action, addressing mental health, supporting veterans, and fostering a culture of care. Grand Blanc's legacy will not be defined by violence, but by its response of love and unity. By coming together, the community can transform pain into positive change, ensuring light overcomes darkness.